Nothing ever happens at Vexler Academy. That's not a complaint. That's a fact. That my name is Krill. Third shift security technician, which is a polite way of saying I sit in a small office and stare at surveillance screens while the rest of the station sleeps peacefully and does absolutely nothing interesting. Vexler Academy is the pride of the Galactic Collective. 200 species, the smartest minds, future engineers, physicists, diplomats. The kind of students who argue about quantum math for fun and apologize if they accidentally insult someone's cultural eating ritual. I end 16 cycles of working security. The most dangerous incident I handled was as a Zafroni student who drank fermented plant juice and declared the cafeteria an independent nation. That was our crisis when I log in my console on cycle day 8047. I expected the usual routine. Check logs, scan minor alerts, make sure nobody froze their dorm room by. Misconfiguring the climate controls. Boring. Predictable. Safe. Except that morning, there was a red flag blinking on my screen. Red that we do not get red alerts. Yellow? Sure. Someone left a door open. Orange? Rare, but manageable. Red means something went very, very wrong. The timestamp read 1647 hours. Previous cycle. Location. Maintenance Corridor 7. Subsection Delta. That's the shortcut hallway between engineering and the main atrium. Cameras everywhere. Full coverage. The Academy board spent obscene credits making sure we could monitor every centimeter of that corridor. Naturally, the footage was gone. Not damaged. Not partial. Gone 0.4 minutes and 12 seconds of static. Before that, crystal clear video of an empty hallway. After that, perfect footage of students walking normally. But those 4 minutes, digital noise. I stared at the corrupted file and felt the kind of headache that means paperwork is coming. Then I opened the attached medical report. 3 students admitted to the medical bay. Thaxon, Dask, Peller, all Krillians. Solid build. Engineering majors. Not fragile. Injuries listed. 2 fracture manipulator appendages, 1 dislocated joint cluster, severe bruising, 1 cracked cranial plate, acute stress response translation. Someone hit them hard. Repeatedly. With precision. Their official statement? They collided with a maintenance cart and fell down some stairs. 2 small problems. There are no stairs in Corridor 7. And no maintenance carts were checked out that cycle, which meant someone was lying, and the only other person logged in that corridor during the incident window was Verachin. Human. First cycle exchange student. Advanced engineering. Near perfect academic record. A human. A death worlder. And 3 Krillian students who suddenly forgot how truth works. I leaned back in my chair and laughed. Not a happy laugh. The kind of laugh you make when you realize you're about to spend the next several cycles digging into something nobody wants dug into. Because here's something I've learned in 16 cycles of watching security feeds. When cameras glitch, when students lie, and when a human is involved, something interesting happened. And at Vexler Academy, interesting usually means someone made a very stupid decision. Let's rewind. Because context matters. And because I had to interview 20 students to piece this together, so you're going to hear it too, Verachan arrived at the start of the academic cycle under Earth's new exchange program. Humans were fresh members of the Galactic Collective. Eager, polite, determined to prove themselves. Standard integration protocol. Nothing unusual, except humans are strange. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, which is scientific language for everything they're trying to kill you. The weather, the wildlife, sometimes even the plants. Most species evolve in safe environments. Humans evolved in chaos. Vera, according to every witness I spoke to, was quiet, polite, kept to herself, sat in the back of advanced engineering lectures, took notes, answered questions. Calmly, scored perfectly on practical exams. Average height for her species. Dark hair tied back. Nothing visually intimidating. Except her eyes. Multiple students mentioned this separately. Alert. Always scanning. Always assessing. Like she was tracking threats no one else could see. Death world instincts, probably. Now, inner Thaxon. Rich family. Legacy admission. Talented enough to pass without trying. Used to being the best in his cohort. Until Vera arrived. Week 3 of the cycle, Professor Horvax assigned a propulsion system design for high radiation environments. Challenging. Standard, Vera submitted early. Not just early. Innovative. Her design improved efficiency by 30% using recursive shielding and magnetic field stabilization that even Professor Horvax hadn't considered in 40 cycles of teaching. She explained it calmly. Simply, like it was obvious. Thaxton's design was good. Textbook perfect. Second place, he did not handle second place well. She cheated, he said loudly in the corridor after class. Just loud enough for her to hear. She copied it. Humans just got here. No way they're that advanced. Vera didn't respond, didn't slow down, didn't argue, didn't defend herself. She just kept walking. And that made it worse. Because when you insult someone and they don't react, that's dismissal, that's saying you're not worth energy. Over the next few weeks, it escalated. Whispers and lectures, comments about Deathworlders belonging in manual labor, questions about whether she really earned her scores. Vera, nothing. Perfect composure, perfect grades, perfect silence. To most students, it looked like patience. Looking back at the footage now, that wasn't patience. That was control. And control has limits. BY cycle day 8047. Tensions were high. Vera had just aced another exam. Thaxton barely passed. Cafeteria footage from that afternoon shows Vera sitting alone, eating something that looked mildly toxic but was apparently normal human food. Thaxton and his friends sat 3 tables away, watching her, whispering, and Vera noticed that of course she noticed. Those eyes tracked every glance, but her expression never changed, calm, still, contained. And that's where part 1 ends, because the mistake hadn't happened yet. But it was coming. And when 3 privileged engineering students decided to corner a Deathworlder in a maintenance corridor with no witnesses, the Academy learned that calm does not mean harmless. Advanced engineering dismissed at 1645 hours. Standard schedule, standard hallway traffic, standard end-of-class noise. Vera packed her datapad, nodded politely to Professor Horvax, and took her usual shortcut toward the residential wing. Maintenance Corridor 7. Subsection Delta. 3 minutes faster than the main atrium route. Most students used it. Thaxton knew that, of course he did. According to Linera, a Cetarian student walking about 20 meters behind Vera, Thaxton and his 2 friends were already in the corridor when Vera entered. They weren't hiding. They weren't subtle. They were standing in a loose triangle formation that just happened to block most of the passageway. Casual, accidental looking, completely intentional. Vera saw them immediately. She paused for half a second, a tiny head tilt, calculating. Then she kept walking at the exact same pace. "Hey, Chin," Thaxton called. Linera said his voice had that false, friendly tone. The kind predators use when they think they're still in control. "Got a minute? We want to talk about the exam." Vera stopped 3 meters away, didn't step closer, didn't step back. Just stopped. Neutral posture. Arms relaxed at her sides. "I don't believe we have anything to discuss," she said calmly. Dask shifted left. Peller shifted right. They didn't touch her. They didn't threaten her. They just made the corridors smaller. Closed. Cornered. Linera said that's when her instincts started screaming. Because the body language was wrong. Territorial, predatory. But technically, nothing illegal yet. Thaxton stepped forward. "See, we've been thinking," he said. "Maybe you've had some outside help. Humans just joined the collective 2 cycles ago. And suddenly you're outperforming students who've studied this their entire lives." Vera didn't blink. "My work is my own," she replied. "If you're struggling, Professor Horvax offers tutoring." It was quiet, polite, professional, and devastating. Thaxton's neck ridges flared dark with anger. "I'm not struggling, Deathworlder." There it was, the word. "You're standing in my way," Vera said. Her voice dropped lower. "Softer. Move. Please." Thaxton laughed. Actually laughed. Dask and Peller joined him. "Or what?" Thaxton said. "What are you going to do?" Linera described what happened next very carefully. She said Vera changed. Not dramatically. Not visibly to someone who wasn't watching closely. But something shifted behind her eyes at a decision. And that's when Linera made her own decision. She turned to go get help. She had taken maybe 5 steps when she heard Thaxton say, "Let's see how tough Deathworlders really are." Then she heard it, the sound of fabric tightening, the sharp intake of breath, physical contact. The line had been crossed, and at exactly 16:47 hours, the camera's glitch point 4 minutes point 12 seconds, static, but Linera saw the first part, and that's enough. Thaxton grabbed Vera's shoulder. Not a tap. Not an accident, but a grab. Fingers digging in, possessive, aggressive. What happened next occurred faster than Linera's brain could process. Thaxton's hand was on Vera's shoulder. Then, he was bent forward at an angle that anatomy textbooks do not recommend. His arm twisted behind his back, face inches from the floor, making a high-pitched wheezing sound. .0 hesitation, .0 warning. Immediate response. Linera told me something during her third interview. She said she'd never actually seen a human move before. Not really. Vera had always moved slowly, carefully, controlled. But that was her actual speed. Dask lunged forward to help his friend. Vera released Thaxton. Pivoted, that's the word Linera used. Pivoted, like a weapon system acquiring a new target. Her leg came up in a smooth arc connected with Dask's torso. The sound echoed down the corridor. Dask did not stumble, he flew, hit the wall hard enough to dent reinforced paneling, collapsed in a gasping heap. And here's where the math stops making sense. Vera weighs roughly 60 kilograms. Dask weighs closer to 90-5 in standard gravity. That kind of displacement requires force far beyond what her size suggests. Unless you grew up in gravity 1.3 times stronger. Unless your bones are denser, your muscles thicker, your reflexes faster. Unless your entire species evolved on a planet that tries to crush you daily. On Vexler Station, humans are walking under reduced gravity, which means they are, effectively, overpowered, Peller-charged. Wrong decision. Vera dropped low, folded under his momentum. Came up with her elbow, upward strike, clean, precise. Peller shut off mid-motion, 0.1 second conscious. Next second unconscious on the floor. Under 10 seconds, 0.3 engineering students neutralized. Thaxton was on his knees, tried process reality. Looking up at her was something Linera described as pure disbelief. Vera looked down at him, calm, breathing steady. I asked you to move. No anger. Shouting. Just fact. Then she stepped over him, adjusted her jacket, and walked away. When the cameras came back online at 16 hours, 51 minutes, and 12 seconds, they showed Vera walking calmly down the corridor, 0.3 trillion students on the ground behind her, Linera frozen in shock. And that was the end of the 4 missing minutes. Medical arrived shortly after. By then, Vera was already in her dormitory, probably doing homework, probably acting like she hadn't just redefined the Academy's understanding of human biomechanics. Here's the part that fascinates me most. According to medical reports, every strike was controlled, every injury non-lethal, joint manipulation without permanent damage, force calibrated to incapacitate, not destroy. She could have done worse, much worse. She chose not to, and that's the detail that kept me awake, because uncontrolled violence is frightening. Controlled violence, that's something else entirely. That's discipline, that's training, that's a predator who knows exactly how hard to bite. And now I had to write a report explaining how 3 students fell down stairs that don't exist. Medical Bay at Vexler Academy is built for disasters that never happen. Regeneration pods, advanced surgical units, pharmaceutical synthesizers for 200 species. In my entire career, it mostly treated lab burns and minor fractures from gravity miscalculations. Until 3 trillion engineering students arrived looking like they'd lost a fight with industrial machinery, that I pulled the medical logs personally. Morbid curiosity is part of the job. Thaxton dislocated shoulder, hyperextended elbow, strained wrist ligaments, severe bruising along the arm complex. Doctor's note, joint manipulation performed with precision and significant strength. No permanent damage. Translation, she knew exactly how his arm worked. 3 cracked ribs, respiratory bruising, spinal compression, massive torso contusion consistent with extreme blunt force impact. Translation, that kick was measured. And devastating. Peller fractured mandible, severe concussion, whiplash trauma. 2 chipped teeth. He regained consciousness 3 hours later. His first words, "Where is she?" followed immediately by, "Please don't tell her." Dr. Yalesh, who has practiced medicine for 40 cycles and does not impress easily, added a final comment to the file. The individual responsible demonstrated remarkable restraint and anatomical knowledge. Restraint. That word kept echoing in my head, because restraint implies choice, and choice implies control. 2 hours after the incident, Vera Chan sat across from Dean Morphix in a private administrative office. I reviewed the interview recording. Her posture, relaxed, hands folded calmly in her P&O visible stress indicators. Miss Chun, the dean began carefully. Can you describe what happened in Maintenance Corridor 7? I was walking to my dormitory, Vera said evenly. Faxon and his associates were blocking the corridor. I asked them to move. They refused. Faxon initiated physical contact. I defended myself and exited the area. That was IT'd N-O dramatic language, N-O emotional spikes. Just sequence of events. How did you defend yourself? The dean asked. I removed his hand from my shoulder and neutralized the immediate threat. Neutralized? Like she was discussing a malfunctioning drone. Did you intend to cause injury? I intended to stop being grabbed. Silence followed. Even Dean Morphix, a Valorian who once negotiated ceasefires between hostile species, sounded slightly unsettled. You understand that 3 students required medical treatment? Yes, Vera replied calmly. Their injuries were the result of their decision to initiate force. No apology to no arrogance, just clarity. Without camera footage, without a confession from the injured students, there was no formal violation. Officially, 3 students collided with equipment. Unofficially, everyone knew why the next cycle, the academy had changed. Student gossip spreads faster than official memos. Lenera told her roommate. The roommate told a study group, WY lunch period. The maintenance card accident was a joke no one believed. That I watched the cafeteria feeds the next day. Vera sat alone. As usual, same posture, same quiet focus, same strange human food. But this time, there was space around her, a wide circle of empty tables. Not hostility. Not fear exactly. Respect. The kind you give something after you realize it's capable of breaking you. One Helverian student accidentally bumped her table. He recoiled like he'd touched a live power conduit. Apologized immediately. Hands raised in a universal, non-threat gesture. Vera nodded politely and returned to her reading. Faxon and his friends. Returned 2 cycles later. Different. They sat in the front of lectures, far away from Vera. N-O whispers, N-O comments, N-O eye contact. When passing her in hallways, they moved aside first. Broken, some students whispered. Humbled, others said it, I call it educated. They had learned something fundamental about humans. Not that they are violent, but that they are capable. And that capability is quiet until it isn't. Professor Horvex told me privately that Vera's academic performance did not change. Still top of the class, still innovative, still calm. The only difference, when she spoke, everyone listened. IT wasn't feared, IT was recalibration. Before, she was a quiet exchange student from a new species. Now, she was proof that Death World evolution produces something different. Humans are polite, humans are disciplined, humans are controlled. But that control is a choice, and once the Academy understood that, everything shifted. Administration, of course, kept the official story intact. Maintenance accident. Equipment malfunction. Unfortunate timing. But privately, policies started changing. And that's where things get interesting, because the Academy didn't just learn that day, IT adapted, and adaptation always reveals what institutions truly fear. 3 cycles after the incident, I was still rewriting the same report. Not because the facts were unclear, but because the truth was inconvenient. Our state-of-the-art surveillance system had failed for exactly 4 minutes and 12 seconds. 3 students were hospitalized, and a human walked away without a scratch. Officially, it was an equipment malfunction. Unofficially, it was a wake-up call. 2 cycles after the corridor incident, new policies were announced. They came quietly. No dramatic assembly. No public statement, just updated documentation in the Academy network that I read every line. First, mandatory physiological awareness orientation for all students. Translation, don't touch the humans. The orientation included educational footage from Earth, combat sports, military training drills, extreme athletic competitions, humans lifting weights that would snap standard academy equipment, humans running endurance trials that would hospitalize most species, humans fighting recreationally. For fun, the Corellian delegation formally requested the footage be reduced. Apparently, several students experienced stress responses during viewing. The request was denied. That administration's reasoning was simple. If you're sharing a campus with a death world species, you should understand what that means. Second policy: installation of redundant surveillance systems in all corridors, shielded components, independent power supplies, triple backup recording nodes. The budget for that project could fund a small colony outpost. Accounting panicked. Security approved it anyway. I now have more camera angles in Corridor 7 than in the central atrium, which would be comforting if cameras hadn't already proven they have dramatic timing. Third policy. This one was my favorite. Self-defense calibration training for human students. A polite administrative way of saying, please remember you are stronger than everyone else. 6 human students attended the session. According to the coordinator, Vera listened patiently to the entire presentation, then raised her hand. Is there a gymnasium rated for Earth standard gravity resistance? She asked. There was not. Apparently, our recreational equipment was not built for 1.3 gravity muscle output. So now, we're retrofitting an entire section of the Academy gym with reinforced frames and impact-rated flooring, budget adjustments, construction crews, structural engineers. All because one quiet human exchange student defended herself efficiently. The social shift was even more dramatic. Humans were no longer curiosities. They were not feared. They were respected. The kind of respect you give something that could hurt you, but chooses not to. Vera completed her cycle with top marks in every class. Invited to 3 advanced research projects. 0 disciplinary records. Thaxton switched to theoretical engineering. In shared lab sessions. Transferred to another academy entirely. Change of environment. His paperwork said, Peller developed what I can only describe as an intense academic interest in human history and culture. Some call it curiosity, that I call it trauma processing. The maintenance card story remained official record at NO stairs at NO card. Just paperwork. Institutions prefer simple explanations. They don't like acknowledging that one of their students effectively became a tactical response unit when threatened. And they really don't like admitting their surveillance system blinked at the worst possible moment. Engineering conducted a full diagnostic NO electromagnetic interference, NO software fault, NO hardware malfunction. Nothing, which leaves 3 possibilities. Point 1. The most perfectly timed random glitch in recorded history. Point 2. Someone with advanced technical skill deliberately corrupted the footage. Or 3. The universe looked at what was about to happen and decided some lessons don't need replay value. Personally, I'm voting for option 3. It helps me sleep. As. For me, I still sit in my cramped office during 3rd shift, still monitor quiet corridors, still wait for nothing to happen. But now, I pay special attention to the human dormitory sector. Not because I expect trouble from them, because I expect trouble around them. Deathworlders are peaceful, but peaceful is a decision, not a limitation. They're civilized because they choose to be, and if you force them to choose differently, well, that we've already seen how that ends. 4 minutes, 12 seconds. 3. Students in medical, and an entire academy recalibrated. Welcome to Vexler Academy, where we educate the brightest minds in the galaxy and learn the hard way that some species require a little more personal space, measured apparently in regeneration pod hours.